Welcome to Camden Yards in Baltimore as the fans make their way in from Utah Street. It's the Red Sox and Orioles in Game 1 of a 3-game series. Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Don Orsillo, as always, joined by Jerry Remy. Welcome to Red Sox baseball. Well, tonight we get to see Eduardo Rodriguez once again go for the Red Sox. Orioles fans know all about him. He was an Orioles prospect, and it's going to be exciting to see him again, Jerry.
Well, it has been very exciting so far. He's been the talk of the Red Sox pitching staff and actually the talk around baseball as far as pitches go, because his first 2 starts have been outstanding, and he's shown great stuff in those starts. His fastball has been 90-plus, sometimes reaching as high as 95. He's had a very good changeup. His slider has also been very good, where he's had it down around the ankles of those right-handed hitters. So he's got 3 pitches that are working for him right now that have been absolutely brilliant. And you can see the numbers so far. The 2-0 record at 0.61 ERA, 14 strikeouts in only 4 walks for him. And, of course, as you mentioned, Don, pitching against the Baltimore Orioles, who traded for him last year, Andrew Miller. Now, they really needed Miller because they thought they were going to go on and win the World Series last year. They couldn't re-sign him, and we got Rodriguez, and so far it's been very, very good.
You know, the Red Sox certainly try to keep it going. Their season-long winning streak right now is 3 games, trying to make it 4 tonight and start a good series against the Baltimore Orioles. Eduardo Rodriguez to make his 3rd Major League start. First pitch is coming your way next. It's the new Audi A3 today. Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. Toyota's website for deals via Toyota.com. Sullivan Tire and Auto Service, thank you New England for 60 great years. Your local New England Ford dealers. And by Southwest Airlines, book your low fare now at Southwest.com. Welcome back to the Inner Harbor, Camden Yards and Oriole Park, as the Red Sox and the Orioles open up a 3-game series tonight in Baltimore. The Red Sox last time here dropping 2 out of 3 to the Orioles. The Orioles have taken the field tonight, so let's check out the visiting Red Sox starting lineup. It is brought to you by your Eastern Hyundai dealers. Dustin Pedroia to lead it off at second base, with Brock Holt in right field batting second. Hanley Ramirez in left in the 3 spot. David Ortiz, the DH, with Mike Napoli at first base. Pablo Sandoval at third base bats 6th, with Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting 7th. Mookie Betts in center field bats 8th. And Blake Swihart does the catching and bats 9th. The Orioles starting pitchers presented by New England Nissan dealers, as Miguel Gonzalez on the hill tonight for the O's. Gonzalez coming in with a 5-4 mark in 11 previous starts, 3.54 earned run average, 58 strikeouts at 22 walks, and opponents hitting at .215 against Gonzalez in 10 games and 8 starts against Boston. He's been good. 5-1 his career mark against Boston with a 3.17 earned run average.
The Orioles defense is brought to you by DraftKings, and they are fourth in the league with 28 errors on the season. Manny Machado will be at third base. J.J. Hardy, the shortstop. Ryan Flaherty at second. And Steve Pearce, the first baseman. Left to right, Nolan Reimold, Adam Jones, and Delman Young. And Matt Wheat is back behind the plate for the Baltimore Orioles.
Now Dustin Pedroia is standing in to get the series started. Miguel Gonzalez ready to work. And the first pitch of the ball game. Oh, miss outside for ball one, and we're underway. Now Dustin Pedroia checking in with a .313 batting average, 8 homers and 23 runs batted in. He had a terrific homestand for the Red Sox. An average up over 300 now for Dustin Pedroia. He was 14 for 29 on the homestand and comes in with a 7-game hitting streak into tonight's action. Pedroia lifts a fly ball to left center field. Nolan Reimold, just called up today, is over in left field to make the catch for the first out of the ball game. Now, tonight's umpires are brought to you by Plainridge Park Casino, coming June 24th, the closest casino to Boston. Jeff Nelson has a plate. The crew chief with Corey Blazer at first base, Laz Diaz at second base, and Chris Guccione is the umpire at third. Where available, this telecast can be heard in Spanish by selecting the SAP button on your television remote. Enjoy the game.
Buenas noches, amigos.
One down here in the first inning for Brock Holt, who has been batting in this 2 spot, and he'll take a strike. Holt just under 300 coming into tonight's game, hitting at .298 with a home run and 12 runs batted in.
And the Red Sox tonight from Gonzalez will see the fastball, the breaking ball, and a split-fingered fastball. It was a high splitter that he threw to Pedroia, and Pedroia flied out to left field on it.
This is grounded to short. J.J. Hardy is back with the O's. Gets it over there in time. 2 down. Well, very comfortable conditions here in Baltimore tonight for the first of 3. As we check out the weather conditions for tonight's game, it's 82 degrees to start the game. Breeze out to left at 9 miles per hour in the forecast for partly cloudy.
And it's always nice to come to Baltimore, Don, when the humidity is 38%.
Yeah, not bad at all. Lights are already on here tonight. As Hanley Ramirez stands in with 2 down here in the first inning. Gonzalez has already made 2 starts against the Red Sox this season. 1-0 with a 5.73 earned run average. He's given up 7 earned runs in 11 innings pitched so far this year against Boston. But again, in 10 career games and 8 starts, 5-1 against Boston overall. Been very good at home so far this year. 3-0 with a 2.52 earned run average in 5 home starts at Camden Yards.
One thing he has done is given up a lot of home runs, 11, and that ties him for the most on the pitching staff for the Orioles.
Showalter's Orioles 26-30 heading into tonight's action. And the Red Sox are both 5.5 games back of the New York Yankees to start action. Ramirez fouling it off himself.
Hanley 3 for 6 in his career against Gonzalez, and 2 of those 3 hits for home runs.
David Ortiz waits on deck. There are 2 outs here in the top half of the first inning. Ramirez grounds one to second base, and Maine native Ryan Flaherty throws out Hanley Ramirez. Sox down in order. Orioles are coming up. Back at Camden Yards in Baltimore. Red Sox down in order in the top of the first inning. Here come the Orioles in the bottom of the first. Manny Machado has been leading off games for the O's. First pitch from Rodriguez in there for strike one. 93 on the fastball from Eduardo Rodriguez. In there for a strike over the inside corner. Third start for him as the Red Sox starting pitcher, brought to you by your local New England Audi dealers. The nifty 0.61 earned run average. One thing we have seen, Jerry, is that he works quickly as well.
He certainly does. He gets that ball. He's right back on the rubber, looking for a sign and ready to throw. First changeup, first three pitches fastballs, followed by the changeup right there, down and away from Machado.
Here's his arsenal this season. A liner back where it came from and into center field. Manny Machado with a base hit. Let's take a look at the Orioles starting nine. It's brought to you by New England Chevy dealers. Manny Machado at third base with Delman Young in right field. Adam Jones in center with Matt Wieters returning to the Orioles after a long stint on the DL, the Tommy John surgery. Chris Davis, the DH. Nolan Reimold called up today. Is in left with Steve Pearce at first base. J.J. Hardy at shortstop. And Ryan Flaherty at second base. Bats ninth. Here is Delman Young batting in the 2 spot. Here is strike one. Young at 294 coming in. 2 homers. 14 runs batted in. Fooled on the pitch and is down 0-2.
Good change up that time by Rodriguez, keeping it down at the bottom of the strike zone. See the off-balance swing there by Delman Young.
Close pitch, but just outside. Baltimore is a team hitting at 252. That is good for tied for 6th in the American League.
Machado at first base is a guy that will run. They don't run very much, the Orioles, but Machado's got 8 steals on the season.
Good sized lead over there at first base for him. Strike 3 call, almost in the same spot. This time it's called a strike. Delman Young asking about it on the way by. There's out number 1 and strikeout number 1 for Rodriguez.
That's where you shake your head. You know, the first pitch you take, it's a ball. Then you get the same pitch again, and this time it's a strike. And as a hitter, you don't know what to swing at. But certainly Rodriguez will take that call. If he can get that outside corner like that, that's going to benefit him, obviously.
1 on, 1 out for Adam Jones. Jones batting in the 3 spot. With Wieters hitting behind him. Certainly a much different looking lineup now for the Orioles since the last time we saw them, because now they got Wieters back. They got J.J. Hardy back. Fly ball to right field, struck well down towards the corner, and that ball will be a foul ball. Down to the garage door area where Holt went running over there, but unable to grab that.
The Red Sox defense is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, and they are 9th in the American League with 35 errors on the season. Pablo Sandoval at third base, Xander Bogaerts the shortstop, Dustin Pedroia at second, Mike Napoli the first baseman, left to right, Ramirez, Betts, and Holt, and Blake Swihart doing the catching for Rodriguez.
1 out, Manny Machado at first base. Adam Jones battling here against Eduardo Rodriguez. Jones with a 5-game hitting streak coming in. To first base, and Machado back to the bag. So that's a big lead. That time he did not.
Yeah, I think it's a one-way lead, Don. You know, he gets a lot of weight in that right foot, which means he's probably going back to the first base bag. That's why the big lead. A one-way lead, meaning going back to the bag. There's another big lead right there.
Just away, and it's 2-1 now to Jones. Jones last year selected by the fan vote for his third straight All-Star appearance. Been an All-Star 4 times. Very aggressive hitter, Adam Jones. And a grounder foul beyond the Red Sox dugout.
And we talked a little bit about the slider in the open for Rodriguez, and for the most part in his first 2 starts he has had that slider down around the ankles of the right-handed hitters. This one stays upstairs a little bit, and that becomes a very hittable pitch. You want to go back down low with it.
Away again, full count. Adam Jones been hot in the last 5 games at .436. 2 triples, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs.
Now let's see if they send Machado here on the 3-2 count. They're going with the fastball.
Machado not going as Jones will take ball 4 down low. A fastball down below the zone, and the first walk given up by Rodriguez.
In the first 2 starts that he's made, he's given up 2 walks in each one of the starts. This fastball just too low right here, and a good at bat by Adam Jones against Rodriguez.
Well, Matt Wieters 5 for 12 in his return so far for the Baltimore Orioles. Bats here with 2 on, 1 away. Here's, of course, the Tommy John surgery. Took a long time to get back for the O's. 417 so far. The home run, 3 runs batted in, and Buck Showalter batting him cleanup right now as he fouls the first pitch he sees back.
And Wieters a 3-game hitting streak, 5 for 12 in that span, and they're just happy to have him back as a presence on this ball club.
Inside, and it's a ball and a strike. Reinstated from the 60-day DL on June the 5th. And 5 Major League Rehab games with Bowie, 2 in Norfolk at AAA. That was the extent of his spring training. This one fouled off. Ace Ticket, the official Red Sox ticket partner, has the best seats at the lowest prices to all the games at Fenway, all with a 200% guarantee. Right now, Ace Ticket has special savings on all Red Sox games, including the Yankees. Visit Ace Ticket or call 1-800-MY-SEATS. One, 2 to Matt Wieters. And he got him off balance, struck him out. That was a strikeout that Rodriguez needed. Second K for Eduardo.
That's the slider we were talking about. Now remember the one earlier to Young. It was not a real good shot breaking ball. That one was much better, knee high, down and in, and Wieters swinging on top of it. So a much better slider that time than Rodriguez.
2 on, 2 down. Wieters frustrated as Chris Davis stands in. Davis has night off defensively. He is the DH for the O's. And he'll take strike 1. Back to the fastball that time for Rodriguez.
And 94 on that last fastball.
Machado at second base. Jones at first with 2 down here in the Orioles' first inning. .271 with runners in scoring position, but just at 160 since the beginning of May. Staying away from Davis.
That's unusual. Back-to-back changeups to Davis, lefty against lefty. I thought he'd basically stay with his fastball and the slider mix. But he goes back-to-back changeups, and if it falls behind, 2-1.
Throw to second, and cheating in was Bogarts, but the throw late.
Well, the reason they can put that play on, they play Davis to pull, so Bogarts is well over towards second base.
Times the Red Sox have shifted against Davis, not doing that here. 2-1, 2 down. And Davis with a foul tip, 2-2.
Yeah, right back to the fastball after back-to-back changeups, and both fastballs in this at bat have been in the same spot, the outside part of the plate.
Davis will take a pitch that is just low. So now everybody will be on the move here. The full count, 2 down.
Not low by very much, but certainly not a strike.
25th pitch of this first inning coming up for Eduardo Rodriguez. Another pickoff play, and this one hits the runner right in the back that time. So Machado getting in the way of that.
I don't really see the need for this. You got a lefty, you got against a lefty right now, and they've tried a couple of times to pick off Machado at second base. And you don't want to take the chance of having a ball going to center field. Like, attack that hitter.
Well, Davis fouling one back and out of play. Machado single. Delman Young struck out. Adam Jones walked. Matt Wieters struck out. So 2 on, 2 down. Davis back goes into the seats as the ball comes foul back in our direction, and that ended up in behind the Orioles dugout. Red Sox suites and premium packages provide a VIP experience for you and your guests. Call 877 Red Sox 9 or email premiumsales@redsox.com for more information.
Well, Don, the Orioles have been able to do something to Rodriguez in this first inning, and that's make him throw a lot of pitches, something he hasn't had to do in his first 2 starts. And you see the breakdown on Davis, certainly a pull hitter. Very little action to the opposite field.
Payoff pitch again to Davis. Again, the runners will be off. And Davis hits a high fly ball to left field, playable for Hanley Ramirez. So Rodriguez gets out of the inning unscathed. Had to do a lot of work, though, to get through it. Scoreless through 1. Red Sox baseball in Nesson is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Welcome back inside Camden Yards. Red Sox and Orioles into the second inning without a score tonight, and David Ortiz leads it off and takes strike one. Orioles in the shift on the right side as David comes into tonight's action, hitting at .219, 6 homers and 21 runs batted in. There is the shift with Ryan Flaherty over to the right, and with the shift on, he goes into center field. So back up the middle, and Ortiz on the leadoff base hit, first hit of the night for Boston.
Good solid contact there by David Ortiz as he defeats the shift with the hard line drive up the middle for the base hit. So Ortiz now 5 for his last 23. As he gets the ball right down the middle of the plate, and that's perfect. You know, take it right back up the middle. Didn't try to pull it. Good job by Ortiz.
The lead runner on for the Red Sox to get it started here in the second inning. And here's Mike Napoli. 212, 9 homers, 24 runs batted in. He was just 2 for 11 in the series against the A's, despite the fact the Red Sox swept the series against the Oakland A's. On hitting at .286. There's a runner at first here with nobody out in the inning. Now Gonzalez coming into his 12th start of the year. Napoli foul it off to the right, out of play. Well, help NESN by taking a quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark next month. Visit NESN.com/survey during tonight's game for your chance to win. Lead runner on here in the second inning for Boston on a single to center for David Ortiz. Napoli will take strike 2.
There are 2 good fastballs, but one fouled off by Napoli, and that one taken by Napoli right down the middle. I think Napoli would like to have this one back again. That's right in his wheelhouse.
The Red Sox so far in the month of June are 5-2. Since the calendar flipped. Tied for the 3rd best record in the American League this month. After an AL worst in May, Red Sox were 10-19 in the month of May. Napoli sprays another one foul off to the right. Trying to come in on Napoli. Ends up out over the plate with a fastball, and it's fouled off to the right. And for every Red Sox game that goes into extra innings or the Sox get a save, CVS Pharmacy. Make a donation to Children's Hospital towards a $25,000 commitment once again this season. CVS Pharmacy is the official pharmacy of the Boston Red Sox. Good battle here so far between Gonzalez and Napoli. Napoli strikes out looking. Grabs that inside corner, first strikeout for Miguel Gonzalez.
You know, it's almost like in that at bat, Napoli was surprised because they have just been absolutely wearing him out, throwing pitches away from him. We saw it on the last homestand, and in this occasion, a lot of pitches in to Napoli, including the 8th pitch of the at bat, which is inside corner for a strike. And it's almost like he kept waiting for something outside and didn't get it.
1 on 1 out for Pablo Sandoval. Yeah, he saw a bunch of pitches outside that were called strikes too.
And a lot of them were not strikes. It just showed the expanding strike zone that we are seeing this season.
The numbers for Sandoval coming in at 244 so far in the season. Sandoval did not play, of course, Friday or Saturday against the Oakland A's, but did return to start at third base on Sunday. Had 2 hits in his return after getting a couple of days off. Was 2 for 4 in the finale on Sunday against the A's. Goes around and is down 1-2.
And they will certainly tempt and tease Pablo Sandoval with high fastballs. And that time he tries to hold up, but he can't.
Fouls it straight back. And his first career appearance at Camden Yards earlier this season. Reached base in 7 of 13 plate appearances here. And now 299 against right-handed pitching. Here's holding on Ortiz at first base. Sandoval. That's a fly ball out to center field. Adam Jones waiting and putting away out number 2 of the inning. So Sandoval retired. Two down for Xander Bogaerts. That average on the rise right now for Xander. At 296, 2 homers and 21 runs batted in. And a big hit on Sunday in the victory against Oakland gave the Red Sox a 5-4 lead with a 2-out, 2 RBI double in the 8th inning. Part of that 7-run attack in that inning. And the Red Sox the sweep of that series against the A's. Now the longest winning streak of the year for Boston, 3 games. Look at his last 8 games at 483 for Bogaerts.
Bogaerts has had his problems with Gonzalez. 1 for 10 in his career against the Baltimore right-hander.
To right field, and that's going to get in for a base hit. Delman Young hits it on a hop. Up to second goes Ortiz. And Bogaerts continues to roll along. A base hit here with 2 down in the inning.
Now that's really what he's done so well through the streak that he's been in, and that's use the whole field. And here a beautiful swing to the opposite field. Shoulder on the baseball, head on the baseball, inside out swing, and taking that ball hard to the opposite field. There's that good solid right on the sweet spot contact that time by Bogaerts.
So 2 down, runner is first and second, and here is Mookie Betts. Sox trying to get something done here with 2 down in the second inning. Betts was 4 for 22 on the homestand. Pinch ran on Sunday after having the day off. Ended up stealing a base after pinch running. Good numbers. Runners in scoring position for Mookie Betts. Swing and a miss, and the bat goes flying to the screen.
We've had a couple of flying weapons here early in the ball game.
And ended up over the head of the on-deck batter, Blake Swihart.
Well, it used to be where you'd worry about foul balls, you know, coming off contact of the bat. Now you worry about bats in the on-deck circle.
Strike 2, and Miguel Gonzalez jumps ahead.
And a steady diet of pitches away from Betts so far. keeping it down on that outside part of the plate and low.
Ortiz at second, Bogarts at first. 2 down in the Boston second inning. 2-2.
Split finger fastball bouncing well out in front of home plate. Nice play by Wieters.
Much like Rodriguez had in the first inning, Gonzalez having to work hard here in the second inning. 33rd pitch of his outing coming up. And Betts slips a fly ball out to right center field. Delman Young is over to make the catch. It ends the inning. The Red Sox strand a pair. Inning and a half done without a score from Baltimore. Scoreless as we head to the bottom of the second inning. Nolan Reimold just returning to the Orioles, called up today as this is fouled off. Swihart is okay as Reimold fouling that pitch off him. His numbers in 46 games with the Norfolk Tides, 286, 2 homers and 13 runs batted in. Eduardo Rodriguez had to throw 27 first inning pitches. That equaled the most he has thrown in any inning so far in the majors. Well, first got out of it unscathed, gave up a hit and a walk, struck out 2, and got a fly out by Chris Davis to finally end the inning. Reimold with a swing and a miss, couldn't catch up to the fastball. Now a fly ball to left field. Hanley Ramirez going over in front of the track to make the catch for the first out at the bottom of the second inning. Time now for the Geico Red Sox moment. All season long, Geico will highlight the 1975 Red Sox in honor of their 40th anniversary. In their 59th game of the 75 season, the Red Sox scored 15 times to beat the Tigers. Fred Lynn homered 3 times and knocked in 10 runs for the Red Sox.
That's a pretty good day.
That's a good day.
Yeah, that's not bad, Freddie. Yaz went 3 for 3 in that game.
Steve Pearce hitting under 200 right now coming in. It's a start at first base. 6 home runs though, and 20 runs batted in. Takes the strike, 2-1. Started all 7 postseason games last year for the Orioles. Last year, a career high in games. Played 102 games last year. Missing at 96 miles an hour down that time.
See what Napoli's playing at first base. He's about almost halfway to second base, and any ground ball to the infield, you've got to wait and give your first baseman a chance to get back there.
Fly ball foul down the right field line, out of play. I guess anything in his direction, you got to be on your toes here. If you're Eduardo Rodriguez, you get over to cover.
Exactly right. And being a left-handed pitcher, they have a tendency to fall off toward the third base side, and you got to quickly regroup to get over there and cover first base.
J.J. Hardy batting out of the 8th spot, waiting on deck. Up high, and there's the second free pass allowed by Rodriguez of this outing. One out walk to Steve Pearce. Control has not been the same so far tonight for Eduardo, it appears.
No, he's been all over the place a little bit here with 2 walks already, this being the second inning. A little bit more of a struggle here in the first couple of innings than the previous 2 starts.
Here is J.J. Hardy. Let's say strike 1. He's signing a 3-year contract extension with the Orioles, with an option for 2018. Fly ball sent foul down the right field line, out of play. Get immediate care without leaving the ballpark at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center First Aid Station, located behind Section 12 on the lower concourse. BIDMC is the official hospital of the Boston Red Sox. J.J. Hardy's got a little pop for sure since 2011, second among Major League shortstops in home runs with 88. Three consecutive Gold Gloves for him at shortstop. There is strike 3. There's a third strikeout for Eduardo Rodriguez. 2 down.
Excellent spot. 2 down and in on J.J. Hardy. Make a pitch zone. You can see that fastball knee high on the inside part of the plate, and a little bit of a generous call, but Rodriguez will take it.
Unique Insurance, great service, great coverage, and a great price for auto, home, or life insurance. Two down with Steve Pearce at first base, and here is Ryan Flaherty. And a ground ball to third base. Sandoval, right at the lip of the grass, throws over to first for the out that ends the inning. 2-2 for Baltimore. We're scoreless. Top of the third inning back at Camden Yards in Baltimore without a score. As it is Blake Swihart leading it off here for the Red Sox.
Yeah, between innings, Diaz talking to Rodriguez. Diaz, of course, former Baltimore Oriole, and giving him some probably tips on how to get some of these guys out. I'm sure that already took place during the afternoon, but just a reminder on the bench.
Blake Swihart leading it off out of the number 9 spot at 209. The home run, 8 runs batted in. Diaz was leading off games for the Orioles at one point this year. A little bit high. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Swihart. Swihart 1 for 8 in the series against the A's, and during the homestand was 2 for 15. Skies one foul off to the left out of play. Want to be part of a live studio audience of Dining Playbook? You can tomorrow night. Tuscan Kitchen in Burlington. Billy Costa and Jenny Johnson will be there filming an episode. Visit NESN.com/Tuscan for tickets. Ball foul outside of first. Pitch for Gonzalez, and it's out towards left center field. Adam Jones got a good jump, and he runs it down. Nice running catch by the Orioles center fielder for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, shading Swihart slightly to the opposite field, and a great jump, as you mentioned, Don, right on contact. And you know, that's the advantage the center fielder has. He can see the location of the pitch. That pitch was away from Swihart. That means Jones is probably leaning in that direction a little bit, expecting it to be hit in that direction. And he made it look easy.
One out here in the third for Dustin Pedroia. Flied out to Nolan Reimold in left field in the first inning, and take strike one. Pedroia taking on the leadoff role for the Red Sox on May the 23rd. And since then has hit at .394. 6th on base percentage since taking over in that spot. That's a fly ball out to right field. Delman Young will put it away for the second out of the third inning. Follow the Red Sox all season in 2015 with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment with highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, StatCasts, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat for your smartphone or tablet. 2 outs in the third for Brock Holt. That bounced out to the shortstop J.J. Hardy in the first inning. Gonzalez could use an economical inning after throwing 33 pitches through the first 2 innings. 23 of them coming in the second inning. Partner of your Boston Red Sox. They're giving out $300 million in cash prizes. Enter promo code NESN to play for free. 1-1. Just missed. Hold now. The inning continues. Hanley Ramirez would be next. Fly ball to right field for Brock Holt. On the run is Delman Young, and that ball's going to be off the wall. Young plays the carom pretty quickly. Holt sliding into second base with a double. Off the scoreboard on the wall in right field. And a 2-out double for Brock Holt.
It's very tough to get an inside fastball past Brock Holt. And that fastball gets inside, but he gets the hands in and the barrel of the bat on the ball. and is able to drive it off the scoreboard, which is not that deep, out in right field here. Good carom right to Delman Young, and we look like it might be a close play at second base, but Holt has no problem beating it. So a man in scoring position with 2 outs.
Chance here for Hanley Ramirez. Grounded out to Ryan Flaherty at second base in the first inning. The last time the Red Sox were here, Hanley Ramirez got one of his 13 home runs off Miguel Gonzalez here at Camden Yards in Baltimore. Well, he faces him again with 2 outs and a runner at second here in the top of the third inning. He's 64 since May the 23rd for Hanley, with runners in scoring position. Oh, big swing there, the hat coming off.
Big swing, but the fastball was inside, and Hanley was kind of on his heels swinging at this one, and loses balance going backwards. And of course, that famous helmet goes for a ride too.
A regular occurrence.
Tries to catch it all the time. I think I just let it fly.
Let it fly.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on. You know, swing, miss, falling down, catching a helmet.
Holt in scoring position at second with 2 down. David Ortiz waiting on deck. Red Sox left 2 men on in the second inning. In there for strike 2. Ended up being right down the middle.
Yeah, slider that time. He's got the fastball, the slider, the curve, and the split, and this is the slider. Very similar to a cut fastball. A little bigger break.
Brock Holt at second base with 2 down here in the third inning. Ramirez fouls it off himself, and down he goes, kind of grabbing that knee. He's in a lot of pain. Right on the knee.
Well, you can see that coming, as it's a two-seam fastball inside, and right on top of it is Ramirez, and right off the inside part of the knee, and down he goes. Still down on the ground. That's a good solid shot right to the knee. Romero still trying to get some feeling back in that knee. Looks like he's going to stay in the ball game.
Don't miss WB Mason extra innings right after the game tonight. TC Eck and Steve Lyons will have highlights. We'll hear from Eduardo Rodriguez. Ooh, but WB Mason. 2 outs. Brock Holt at second base, and a 2-2 pitch coming up here to Hanley Ramirez. Hanley hits a fly ball down the right field line, making its way foul and landing harmlessly down the right field line.
I'm a little surprised right there. A lot of times when that happens, you'll see the pitcher come right back to the same pitch inside, and the hitter would become reluctant to swing at that because of what just happened.
Bust him right back in again and see if he does it again.
Exactly, and on the last pitch he did not. Goes to look like a split-fingered fastball to the outside part of the plate. There's the ball that's running in on him. They got him on the knee.
Foul off to the right.
He wanted to get that one inside, Don, but he couldn't do it. He got it out over the plate.
Ramirez appears to be in pain when he lands. 8th pitch of the at bat coming up here for Hanley Ramirez. It has been a painful at bat. As John Farrell looks on. In the dirt, Wieters popped up like he may throw to second base, so Holt darts back to the bag at second. Full count now. Orioles so glad to have Matt Wieters back. He lost for them last year. Miguel Gonzalez matched up against Hanley Ramirez. And Ramirez fouling it off, staying alive. Let's see a 10th pitch in this at bat.
And about the last 4 have been very painful swings.
I wonder after this at bat is over whether or not he'll stay in the game.
Yeah, I think Torey Lovello is going down to alert somebody that it's quite possible they would be going in the game for Ramirez after this at bat.
And look at Rusney Castillo now limbering up. Outside ball 4, and Ramirez ends up working the walk on the 10th pitch of the at bat. And they're going to have Rusney run for him here as Hanley gets the walk, but he's coming out of this game. So Hanley Ramirez fouling a pitch off his knee and painfully gutting it out in that at bat. Ended up walking, and Rusney Castillo taking over for him, running at first base. So the Red Sox have runners at first and second with 2 down, and David Ortiz coming up. Ortiz with a single in center field in the second inning as one of 3 Red Sox hits on the night. Meanwhile, Gonzalez having to throw a lot of pitches. Runners in scoring position, a 116 average. Look at the bat of Ortiz, tried to hold up, ends up fouling it off, much to his chagrin.
And wanted to hold up on that high inside fastball, but it did get a piece of the bat. So instead of the 2-0 count, Gonzalez back in a 1-1 count.
Ortiz out to left center field. Jones on the run. So is Reimold. He'll get there. Nolan Reimold. Red Sox stranding 2 more. They've let 4 on. No score through 2.5. The bottom of the 3rd inning, and the top of the Orioles order coming up here as the Red Sox make some defensive changes. Rusney Castillo after pinch running. Hanley Ramirez stays in the game in right field, and Brock Holt moves from right to left. Machado takes strike 1 to begin this bottom of the 3rd inning. As the only hit off Rodriguez, you see Hanley Ramirez heading down the steps to the tunnel back to the clubhouse.
Get some ice on that thing. See if you can keep the swelling down. Hopefully be back in there tomorrow.
And Machado with a single to center in the 1st inning. Rodriguez has walked 2. A fly ball headed out towards right field and just into the game. Rusney Castillo will make the catch in front of Mookie Betts for the first out of the inning. Send it down to Guerin.
Hey, thanks, Don. Earlier today, manager John Farrell praised pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez and his first 2 starts. Now 2-0, Farrell expects Rodriguez to play with the same poise against his former organization.
I don't know that anyone's really surprised, because when you get a sense of what his physical abilities are, and when you're talking about a left-hander who's got good command of a fastball, he's got mid-90s, in that arm, and he's got deception. That's a lot to start with in a positive way, and what he's shown is a poise that I think is pretty rare. It's allowed him to stay within his delivery and not get emotionally wrapped up in the moment, and he's been able to command a baseball, and I would expect that to be the case again tonight because of his athleticism. I would imagine there's going to be added adrenaline because it's his original organization, but because he's such a fluid athlete, you'd like to think that he's still going to command a baseball.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that a little bit. The facing his old organization that they thought highly of him, no doubt about it, but they also thought that they'd get the final piece to the puzzles to perhaps a world championship team by adding Andrew Miller here, and it was a deal they made kind of somewhat reluctantly.
Well, I spoke with Dan Duquette prior to the game today. I happened to run into him in the hallway, and he said just the same thing. He said, you've got a good one. He said, you really got a good one. We were very, very high on him. He said, but we felt like we needed that missing piece of the puzzle last year, and they also felt they might be able to sign.
Castillo dancing into foul ground, and he's been up to the task on 2 fly balls in the inning, 2 down.
Sign Andrew Miller to an extension on his deal, but of course big money came out of New York, so the Red Sox fortunate to get Rodriguez, and Dan Duquette's done a heck of a job down here with the Orioles.
Absolutely has. I also had the chance to see him before the ball game, and he really has done an outstanding job here and worked very well with Buck Showalter. Some wondered how that relationship would go.
Yep.
Buck was here preceding him, and then he was hired as a general manager after Buck Showalter was here, and they have worked marvelously together. 2 down here in the 3rd inning, and it brings up Adam Jones.
I think Dan matured a lot, from all that time off.
8-9 years off
that he had out of baseball, which was incredible to me, that he was out of the game that long. And I think that was really a time for him to sit back and reflect on, some things as far as being a general manager. And I think he came here with a totally different attitude than what he had in Boston. He's still very quiet, doesn't say very much. It's like pulling teeth to try to get something out of him. But he's had great success here with the Orioles.
Big gap out there in left center field right now. Mookie Betts over in right center. Jones grounds one. Nicely picked by Rodriguez. He was falling off to that side. Not help, but still a very nice stab there by the pitcher. 1, 2, 3 innings scoreless through 3. Batting 100 is no fun, but getting 100 feels great, especially when all you have to do to get $100 is open an Eastern free checking account. Learn more at easternbank.com/free checking. Back at Camden Yards in Baltimore without a score. Red Sox out hitting the O's 3-1. Miguel Gonzalez back on the mound. 60 pitches deep into his outing. As he starts the top half of the 4th inning, Mike Napoli. Napoli struck out looking in the 2nd inning. The only strikeout so far tonight for Miguel Gonzalez. And an 8-pitch at bat back in the 2nd inning. Wild swing and a miss there. Mike Napoli seeing the 4th most pitches per plate appearance in the majors. 2-1 pitch. And Napoli a little tardy on that. Followed by Sandoval and Bogarts here in the 4th inning.
Fastball at 91 this time from Gonzalez, and you're right, a very late swing here by Mike Napoli.
On the ground is second baseman Ryan Flaherty. And there's one away here in the 4th inning. And be sure to follow Nesson on Instagram to see all sorts of cool pictures this Red Sox season. Our followers have been growing every day. Let's see if we can get to 25,000 before the end of the summer. Follow Nesson on Instagram today.
That's setting your sights too low, 25,000. I think it should be higher than that.
I really wasn't setting anything. I was just reading the copy.
I know, but I think we've set our I don't think we've set our sights high enough.
What do you want to do? 50?
I would say 50 the minimum.
How about a hundo?
We'll settle for 50. You know, anything over that would be a bonus. That's what I think. I think we should rewrite that copy.
One out of the 4th inning. Pablo Sandoval sends it down the left field line. This one headed towards the corner, and a foul ball.
What's going on here? Easy, buddy.
He couldn't get around the other guy. I mean, the other guy was in the way.
He was trying like crazy, too. The guy was working on his night moves.
Ground ball to first base. Steve Pearce underhanded to Miguel Gonzalez. So 2 down. Well, tonight's poll question is presented by the Scion TC. Besides Fenway, what is your favorite AL East ballpark? That's Sox 1 for Camden Yards, Sox 2 for the Rogers Center, Sox 3 for Tropicana Field, and Sox 4 for Yankee Stadium. Text your answer to 536-536. Message and data rates may apply. One message per vote. Visit Nessa.com/terms for terms and conditions as well as privacy policy. I would have to go Camden Yards.
Well, that's my answer.
Ground ball foul. Jumping out of the way first was the first base umpire Corey Blazer, and then making the call. He was chasing him down the first base line. Camden Yards jumping out to an early lead.
I really felt that way since the first day I stepped in this ballpark. Just fantastic. I mean, it's a baseball stadium right here.
How did you like the old Memorial Stadium?
Did not.
No.
For many reasons. First of all, the teams they had there. It was no fun going in to play the Orioles. You know, with the pitching they had and the defense they had, and I didn't particularly care for it at all. Never had a chance, obviously, to play in this beautiful ballpark.
I once walked to the top of Memorial Stadium up in that upper deck.
Yeah.
And it was like straight up in the air. I mean, you talk about having the feeling that you're falling forward. I mean, it was way up there.
That's not comfortable. It's like Chicago. Remember when they built Chicago?
Yes.
They've changed it since.
Yeah, very, very steep.
It was very steep in the top deck.
Ended up taking rows out, sections out for their All-Star game. 2-2 pitch fouled off to the right, out of play. Of course, after the Orioles moved out into this beautiful ballpark, Camden Yards, the Double-A Bowie Bay Sox, who had just started, played a season there in Memorial Stadium. That's a chance I had to go to Memorial Stadium. Was with the Binghamton Mets in the Eastern League, and it was a strange, eerie feeling because you go into the old press box and they've been out of there a couple of years, and the cobwebs, and you know, so much of history had taken place here, not only with the Orioles but the Colts also.
Sure, there was a lot of history in that ballpark. There really was.
But no doubt this is a magnificent ballpark and great venue. 75th pitch is fouled off, and Bogarts will see an 8th pitch in this at bat. Bogarts will take ball 4. Another good at bat for Bogarts. 2 outs here in the 4th inning. He's got himself a walk, and it's the second walk allowed here by Miguel Gonzalez.
Well, let's see if the Red Sox test Matt Wieters a little bit behind the plate. Wieters, of course, one of the best in the business, but did have the surgery, and we'll see with 2 outs if they get Bogarts in motion at first base, try to get him in a scoring position, and also check out how Wieters is throwing.
4 for 5 this year in thefts. Mookie Betts flied out to the right fielder Delman Young in the 2nd inning. 0 for 1. Red Sox have left 4 men on through the first 3 innings. 2 on in the 2nd, 2 on in the 3rd. Strike called. It was almost in the same spot. 0-2.
And again, keeping the ball away from Mookie Betts. Both fastballs away.
Join the 2020 Club and enjoy an affordable fun night at Fenway Park. Groups of 20 or more start at $20 each. Visit redsox.com/groups for more information. Napoli grounded out. Sandoval grounded out. Bogarts walked. And Mookie Betts. That's a lift a fly ball down the right field line. Delman Young, long run over towards the line, and Young in foul ground makes the catch. It ends the inning. To 3.5 from Baltimore. No score. Bottom of the 4th inning. Matt Wieters leading it off here for the O's. No score. Red Sox out hitting the Orioles 3-1. Wieters getting his second look at Eduardo Rodriguez. Wieters struck out swinging in the 1st inning. Rodriguez fresh off a 1-2-3 3rd inning, and he has now retired the last 5 Orioles in a row. And 8 of the last 9, and here's a base hit. Matt Wieters on with the second Orioles hit of the game. At Eastern Bank, being first feels like $100. Just open an Eastern free checking account in the month of June and you'll get $100. Learn more at easternbank.com/free checking.
That's a beautiful shot, isn't it? A little bit different than last night here in Baltimore, where it was really stormy.
A lot of thunder and lightning in the area last night. Matt Wieters aboard at first to begin things in the fourth inning. Chris Davis jumping on the first pitch, a fastball, and fouls it back.
That last slider too that Wieters hit for the base hit, that was not the good one. I mean, there's been a couple tonight that have hung out over the plate, and the Orioles that time taking advantage of it with Wieters picking up the base hit on a slider.
Grounded foul, 0-2.
Take one more look at the location of that breaking ball from Rodriguez to Wieters, and you'll see how it stays up in the zone. That becomes a very hittable breaking ball right there. And Wieters with good solid contact to left field. That's the one that Rodriguez is beginning down around the ankles to the right-handers.
Two balls, 2 strikes now to Davis. 12 home runs so far in the year for Davis. That's now with Nolan Reimold waiting on deck. Swing and a miss. Gets a fastball, blows it by him. That's a 4th strikeout for Rodriguez.
Yeah, really staying away from the power of Davis too, as he pounds that outside part of the plate. There's that fastball right there at 94 miles an hour to pick up a strikeout. Very late defensive swing by Davis. That ball just about in the glove of Swihart.
1 on, 1 out. Nolan Reimold, the batter. Reimold flied out to the left fielder in the second inning. At the time, Hanley Ramirez. Just joining us, Hanley Ramirez fouling a pitch off his knee, had to leave the game. And now Holt in left, Castillo in right. Now in on the thumbs of Reimold, fouling it back to the screen. It's Arsenal tonight. Not as many breaking balls, and they haven't been as good. This one fouled back to the screen. Help NESN by taking a quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark next month. Visit NESN.com/survey during tonight's game for your chance to win. Matt Wieters held on at first base by Mike Napoli with 1 out. Last year leaving the Orioles organization, went to Toronto and Arizona, comes back to Baltimore this year and began the year AAA. Broke into the big leagues with Baltimore as a second-round choice back in 2005 for the Orioles. Ball 4, and there is a third walk given up by Rodriguez, and now the O's have 2 on with 1 out.
Well, we'll see if the pattern continues here for Rodriguez. Every time tonight he has put a man on base, he has struck out the next batter. Watch Reimold, and we'll see what he does here with Pierce.
3 walks, a new high now for Eduardo Rodriguez. He'd walked 2 in each of his first 2 starts. 3 walks tonight so far. One of those walks, Steve Pearce, who takes ball 1. And now Swihart headed out. He'll be joined by Pablo Sandoval coming in from third base. Remind you to stay tuned following WB Mason Extra Innings Live. The Red Sox final presented by Uno's. TC Eck and Steve Lyons will recap day 2 of the MLB draft. 2 on, 1 away with Wieters at second base, Reimold at first, and Steve Pearce ahead in the count 1-0. Swing and a miss. That was in on the hands.
Yeah, that really fooled Pearce there. It's almost like he was expecting something out over the plate or away, and that fastball inside just really tied him up. And that wasn't even close to contact.
Contact here to shortstop. Bogarts to second for 1. On to first, and Napoli keeps his foot in the bag for 2. Double play, 6-4 to 3. We're through 4 without a score from Baltimore. Back in Baltimore, no score as we head into the 5th inning. And the Red Sox catcher, number 9 hitter Blake Swihart, left to lead it off for Boston. The twilight here right now in Baltimore. And Swihart lined out to the center fielder Adam Jones in the 3rd inning. Shortens up, shows bunt, but the recipient of a strike call, much to the surprise of Blake Swihart.
Machado has not come in, even with that fake bunt. He's back behind the third base bag. Hasn't seen a fastball yet. It's been a curveball and a split-fingered fastball.
A high pitch count for Miguel Gonzalez coming into this 5th inning. Now 82 pitches deep. He's had some long innings. Red Sox have left 5 men on base through the first 4 innings. Line down the left field line, a fair ball. Nolan Reimold over to dig it out. Swihart headed for second base. Throw will go in that direction, but he is easily standing at second base. A leadoff double to begin the 5th inning.
Good job by Swihart. He gets a breaking ball with a couple of strikes on him, cuts down on his swing, takes it to the opposite field, picks up the leadoff double here in the 5th. See what this breaking ball is. It stays away, and Swihart doesn't try to pull it. He's got a couple of strikes on him, so he just lays the bat on the ball and takes it to the opposite field for the double. Good job by Swihart.
Second time of the game, Red Sox have had the lead runner on. Double here in the 5th, and now here's Dustin Pedroia looking for his first hit of the game.
Now here's a case with Pedroia, Don. You know, you always say nobody outmoved that man to third base. And with Pedroia, I just let him be. You know, if he gets a pitch middle in, let him swing and let him pull the ball. That's where his strength is.
Pedroia fights this off foul, and it is a ball and a strike.
Yeah, there was no intention there of hitting the ball to the other field. Certain players, it's a must to do it. Certain guys, though, you just let them carry on their own at bat. And Pedroia, to me, is one of those guys. Here's the pitch that Pedroia fouled off, and you can see there was really no intention of going to the opposite field there. He got a fastball middle in. He was trying to hook it.
On the ground, foul, and it evens now at 2-2. Well, the hit direction for Dustin Pedroia, pulling the majority of the time, 55%.
Leaning heavily toward left field, isn't he? 55%.
On the ground towards shortstop, J.J. Hardy took a look at third, but goes to first, and in the end, it gets the runner to third base.
Yeah, good base running again there by Swihart, because you know you don't always have to hit the ball to the right side. If you're out there and you know where the shortstop is, any ball to your left, you can go, and Swihart did.
Well, something may be wrong here with Miguel Gonzalez, the trainer, pitching coach, and manager coming out.
Hey, you see the base running, good base running by Swihart. He knew that ball was going to be to his left. There was going to be no play on him at third base, and just continued on to get there with less than 2 outs. So heads up base running.
That's going to do it for Miguel Gonzalez. So the trainer out there and a medical visit, and he is not going to continue. So not a good thing here for the Orioles. Red Sox have a runner at third with 1 out. A pitching change from Camden Yards in Baltimore. left this game for the Orioles with an apparent injury. And T.J. McFarland will be given as long as he needs to warm up here with that injury to the starting pitcher. McFarland's 8th appearance, 0-1 with a 2.70 earned run average. 9 strikeouts to 6 walks, and opponents hitting at .313 against McFarland. Miguel Gonzalez responsible for Blake Swihart, who's at third base with 1 out here in the 5th inning. He left the game throwing 89 pitches in this outing. 4 1/3 innings. We couldn't really see anything, at least visibly, that was wrong with Gonzalez and the pitches leading up to his exit from this game.
No, we took a look at about 2 or 3 pitches previous to when he came out, and we didn't really pick anything up, but they certainly did in that dugout for the Baltimore Orioles as they were out there in a hurry.
That's tomorrow at 6. Don't miss Red Sox first pitch, presented by Joseph Abboud, available at Men's Warehouse. Hanley Ramirez will show you the mechanics of his swing. 1 out, Blake Swihart at third base. And it'll be Brock Holt coming up here for the Red Sox whenever T.J. McFarland is good to go. Time for a game break, brought to you by Jordan's, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Tom? Tom, thanks very much. The Yankees, of course, are winners of 6 straight games, and that's part of the reason the Red Sox, even though they've won their last 3 straight games coming into tonight, not been able to gain any ground on the AL East. Still 5.5 games back where they were to begin Friday's play, and Yankees keep winning 6 straight. And T.J. McFarland continues to warm here after the injury. Miguel Gonzalez, nobody had been warming in the Orioles pen.
He took about maybe 5 or 6 pitches out in the bullpen, and then of course when the move was made, the remainder will be taken on the mound. It looks like he's just about ready.
Brock Holt coming up here for the Red Sox. Holt grounded out to short in the first. He doubled to right in the third. Chance here with Blake Swihart at third base and 1 out in the 5th inning. First time the Red Sox have had a base runner to third.
Infield in. They're pulled in for the Orioles with the 1 out and the man at third base. And the decision you have to make as a manager for the Red Sox, do you send Swihart on contact? And remember, you don't have Hanley Ramirez on deck. If he was on deck, you probably would not. You have Rusney Castillo on deck, which opens up the possibility that he could go on contact.
Now McFarland falling behind here 2-0. Second stint of the year for McFarland up with the Orioles. Called up on June the 3rd, has been here since. Also was up May 8th through the 24th. Up and down to AAA Norfolk. Holt takes the strike. Fastball at 91 miles an hour. Rock tonight is grounded to short and doubled. Swing and a miss. That one by him and kind of biting in on him.
A 2-seam fastball that time coming running back into the hands of Brock Holt.
Arsenal for McFarland.
A lot of fastballs. That could change on a 2-2 count.
Holt strikes out looking. Close pitch, but a good pitch it appeared. And that is out number 2 for the Orioles.
Well, McFarland stays with his strength. He stayed with the fastball that time and picked up the strikeout. Sinking fastball that time to the outside part of the plate. Very good pitch against Brock Holt.
Now Rusney Castillo for the first time tonight. He pinch ran after Hanley Ramirez walked in the third inning. Earlier in that plate appearance, Ramirez had fouled a pitch off his knee. Rusney at 245 with a home run, 4 runs batted in. For every Red Sox hit in June, Echo Store Technologies will donate $50 to the Sean Thornton Foundation. Echo Store is proud to assist in helping find a cure for Parkinson's disease and pediatric cancer. To learn more, log on to echostore.com. Echo Store Technologies, your data center solutions provider. 2-0 pitch. And that'll miss for ball 3. Another close pitch.
Sounds crazy, but I give Castillo the green light here. Left-hander Ortiz on deck.
Swings away on the 3-0. Had the green light, but flies to right. Delman Young puts it away. Red Sox opportunity goes by the board. It is scoreless through 4.5. Locked out of the bullpen out there is a backup catcher. That's what they're waiting for here as a bullpen catcher, actually, for the Red Sox, who got locked out. He was on the playing field and couldn't get back in. He's all set now. A bit of a delay there as Eduardo Rodriguez tried to get the attention of the bullpen. He's out there warming up Mookie Betts in center field. J.J. Hardy, Ryan Flaherty, and Manny Machado batting here in the 5th. Fouled off to the right. J.J. Hardy struck out looking in the 2nd inning. 1 of 4 Ks tonight for Eduardo Rodriguez. And a foul down the right field line. Hardy, then Flaherty and Machado. 8-9-1 for the Orioles. Sliced foul into the seats. strikeouts, 3 walks for Rodriguez, giving up 2 hits, working here in the 5th inning. Hardy grounds one foul. A little bit low, full count. Line to center field and in for a base hit in front of Mookie Betts. Leadoff single for J.J. Hardy. 3rd hit of the night for the Orioles. 3rd time they've had the lead runner on in 5 innings. Well, tonight we extend a special welcome to 6th graders from Dexter Southfield School of Brookline, Massachusetts. They're on a class trip to Washington, D.C. and we're able to make it to Camden Yards tonight to watch their Sox. So welcome to Camden Yards tonight. Looks like they're having a good time tonight as J.J. Hardy has led off with a single. Here in the 5th, here is Ryan Flaherty now.
See if he's bunting.
Look out, he is being hit instead. Did he go? No, did not swing as they check or offer at that on the bunt. They check with the 3rd base umpire, Chris Guccione. So it is a hit batsman. John Farrell wants to know, he's checking to see whether or not they should challenge this and whether he did offer.
Let's take a look ourselves about this and see if we can pick up anything. John Farrell's coming out to the home plate umpire. He squares around. He's in the bunt position. No, I don't think so.
No, he's trying to get out of the way from the get-go.
Yeah, you can see him right here start to pull the bat back right now because he knows he's going to get hit.
Oh, ribs. This will be the first batter that Eduardo Rodriguez has hit in his career. Oakland umpire Jeff Nelson talking here with John Farrell. That's exactly where it hit Flaherty, where he was grabbing that side area.
I mean, he gets into a bunt position. There's no question about that, but he never bunts at it. You'll see the hand start to come back now. See the bottom hand dropping? That's because he knew he was going to get hit right in the ribs with the fastball. So I don't think there was any intent to bunt at all. He's just trying to get out of the way.
So a single and a hit batter. The 8-9 men for the Orioles have set the table here, and here comes Manny Machado now.
And the Red Sox in tight. You see Napoli in at first, and Sandoval in at 3rd.
Machado takes strike 1 right at the bottom of the zone. Runners in scoring position at 229 for Machado. Machado single in the first, fly to right in the 3rd. 1 for 2 so far against Rodriguez. Straightens him up. J.J. Hardy at 2nd, Ryan Flaherty at 1st, nobody out in the Baltimore 5th inning. On the ground towards shortstop, slowly Bogaerts flips backhanded and just in time to force out the lead runner, J.J. Hardy at 3rd.
Good heads-up play by Xander Bogaerts, because there's probably not going to be a play at second base. There is probably not going to be a play at first base. So he goes with the shuffle pass along to 3rd, and they just get the runner, J.J. Hardy, at 3rd base. Sandoval stretching out like a first baseman to get the force out. That is the only play that Bogaerts had, and a big out for the Red Sox.
Now Delman Young, the batter. And struck out looking in the 1st inning, fouled out down the right field line to Rusney Castillo in the 3rd inning. Foul to the screen, and it's a ball and a strike to Delman Young. Eduardo Rodriguez has given up 3 hits tonight. He gave up a leadoff single to begin this inning to Hardy. And fouls it back again.
And reaching back for a little extra, 94 on that last fastball. So the velocity still there for Rodriguez.
Swing and a miss. Got it by him with that velocity at 94 miles an hour. He picks up his 5th strikeout. It's a big one. 2 down.
That's very impressive. When you're in trouble, you got a man in scoring position, you can reach back for a little bit extra on that fastball and throw it right by somebody. And very late with the swing there was Delman Young. But you look at who's coming up next, Adam Jones.
Jones walked in the first inning, grounded back to the mound in the 3rd. It's his 3rd look at Eduardo Rodriguez. And hacking at that first pitch. Ryan Flaherty at second base, Manny Machado at first base with 2 outs here in the 5th inning. Center fielder Mookie Betts over towards right center. Good gap out in left center. And a fly ball foul off to the right, and Rodriguez jumps ahead here 0-2. A bit of a battle tonight. He's had some taxing innings throughout the night. Only 1-2-3 inning. That was the 3rd inning. Otherwise, the Orioles have had men on base in every inning. Left 4 men on through the first 4. They have 2 on here with 2 outs in the 5th. Jones with a swing and a miss. Rodriguez pumped up. Went upstairs to get him. Now Jones is staring out at him. We are scoreless through 5. Eduardo Rodriguez with a big strikeout of Adam Jones. Jones was not enamored with the celebration that Eduardo Rodriguez had after that big strikeout. David Ortiz leading it off here in the 6th inning.
When you think about it, Rodriguez has shown very little emotion in any of his starts, and a big strikeout there against Adam Jones, just rearing back with the fastball and blowing it by him on a high fastball. And then after that, you get a little bit of Rodriguez being very happy about what he just did, and then when Adam Jones sees him do that, that's when Adam Jones kind of smiles out there. Okay, kid, you got it. You got me that time.
Into the shift on the right side. Flaherty in short right field throws that big pocket. Shift works there for the first out of the 6th inning. Eduardo Rodriguez's pitching line is brought to you by Ace Ticket. 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 3 walks, and 6 Ks. One out here in the 6th inning. Mike Napoli 0 for 2. Struck out, grounded out. Now grounded back up the middle into center field, trying to backhand it. That time was McFarland, but it's by him and into center.
Let's go back to the reaction by Adam Jones after he watches Rodriguez celebrate. He'll just take his helmet off, look out, and just kind of smile at him. Okay, kid, you got me that time, but we'll have a lot of matchups. The rookie against the veteran.
One out. Napoli at first base, and Pablo Sandoval 0 for 2. Flat out to center in the 2nd, grounded out to first in the 4th.
I was thinking a little bit about a possible hit and run, only because Sandoval swings at about everything. So, I mean, it's almost like you don't have to wait for a count where there's going to be a strike thrown, or you think there's going to be a strike thrown.
It doesn't really matter with Pablo.
Exactly.
He fouls this back. Farland's been operating around 90, 91 miles an hour. Well, tonight after our Red Sox coverage on NESN Sports Today, Adam Pellerin and Nicky Reyes will give you Robert Kraft's take on the state of the Tom Brady's appeal. That and more on NESN Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank. See what know-how can do. Chaz Rowe up in the pen right now for the Orioles. There's a ground ball up the middle, ranging as Flaherty towards the bag at second for 1. On to first, a double play. I just led him to the bag and worked out very well for the Orioles. 5.5 done, scoreless. Back at Camden Yards in Baltimore without a score. To the bottom of the 6th inning we go. And Matt Wieters leading it off here. That's Eduardo Rodriguez. That's pitch number 93 for Rodriguez. Working here into the 6th inning. And falling behind Wieters, 2-0. In the first 2 outings, one lasted 7 2/3, won 7 innings. Won 105 pitches, won 103 of the first 2 outings in the majors. And still has allowed only 1 earned run total. He has battled tonight, no doubt. Orioles have left 6 men on base through the first 5.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Don. He's not out there with all his weapons intact tonight, but he still has been able to keep the Orioles off the board.
Swing and a miss. And Matt Wieters strikes out. That's 7 strikeouts for Rodriguez. Let's send it down to Guerin.
Hey, thanks, Don. It's the FW Web Closer Look. Let's take a closer look at the Boston Red Sox. Yesterday, the Sox selected outfielder Andrew Benintendi with the 7th overall pick in the MLB draft. The Arkansas product was named the 2015 SEC Player of the Year with a .380 average, 19 homers, and 55 runs batted in. Don, Jerry, back to you guys.
All right, thanks very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, always exciting.
Be the #1 pick of the Boston Red Sox.
Some footage of him in action.
Looks like he got that one. The way he reacted at home plate, no question about it. Nice little defense shown in the outfield, which we had to break away from because we got a game going on.
Chris Davis on the ground to first base. Napoli will flip to Rodriguez covering. He just does get the foot down in time. Some of the defense you were talking about, Jerry.
Yeah. Looks to have very strong legs. A couple of home runs and a fine defensive play and a #1 pick.
There's Nolan Reimold with 2 outs in the 6th inning. Got the report on Miguel Gonzalez left the game with a right groin strain. Orioles starter tonight who left this game after 4 1/3 innings. The ground ball left side. Bogart's rounding behind it. Off balance throw. And it's not in time. Too much speed for Nolan Reimold. John Farrell on the top step of the dugout waiting word whether or not he's going to challenge this. He's not going to, backing down into the dugout now.
And it's not like Bogarts, took it easy there either on the throw. I mean, he let it go as hard as he could from that position. And from that angle right there, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, would it hurt the challenge?
No. John's coming out now. He has gotten a late call to go challenge us. He had backed down the dugout, and after a few further looks there, now going to challenge us. He was not going to initially. And now Buck Showalter's coming out to argue here.
You can't.
Took about 4 steps out and was waved back by Jeff Nelson, the home plate umpire. Right now the umpires are getting together.
From this angle here, it looks like he might be out. As you can see, that chalk.
Now Buck Showalter is coming out. Now they will check it out.
That last angle was the one that maybe he was out at first base. That's the one that gave us probably the best look. And I see the ball going into the glove right there of Napoli, and then you see the chalk kind of kick up off the bag. That's very, very close. Take another look at it as the umpires get on the headsets.
And is it conclusive enough to overturn? That's the other question.
Right. Now this is one I'm going to stay away from, Don. I
don't think they're going to overturn it.
Too close to call.
Yeah, I think it's going to stay as is.
I would agree with you. I'm going to throw myself out there. I'm going to agree with you.
Go ahead. This was the 16th challenge for John Farrell. 6 have been overturned.
Oh!
He called him out. Oh my goodness! Wow, unbelievable. Well, Red Sox will take that as unbelievably it is overturned. There was conclusive enough, apparently.
I told you.
Six scoreless innings from Eduardo Rodriguez. And Rodriguez at 102 pitches through 6 innings. John Farrell over to let him know he is done for the night. So another 6 shutout innings for Rodriguez in this game tonight, and the call overturned. And the challenge by John Farrell. So it's out of the 7th we go, and the new pitcher now on for the Orioles to face Xander Bogaerts, who leads it off here in the 7th inning and takes strike 1. Chaz Rowe, the new pitcher for the O's. 8th appearance, 0.84 earned run average, 12 strikeouts to 3 walks, and opponent's hitting at 162 against him.
Well, I'll tell you the impressive thing, in my opinion, about Rodriguez tonight is that compared to his first 2 starts, he did not have all his weapons in this game tonight. He had a very good fastball with plenty of life on it. He didn't have that biting slider that he had in the first couple of starts, and he didn't throw all that many changeups in this game tonight. Now maybe the attack was to throw more fastballs, and he really had to battle hard, and look at the results. Still no runs on the board. That's pretty impressive.
ERA now 0.44.
Yeah.
This one fouled off at the plate, 2-2. But he had trouble when he did throw changeups, locating that changeup a little differently than the last 2 times we saw.
Yeah, in my opinion, he went out there basically tonight with a fastball and got by with it.
And faced a pretty good lineup.
Yep.
2-2 pitch to Bogaerts. Tomorrow at 6:30, don't miss Red Sox Game Day Live, presented by DCU. Garen Austin will go one-on-one with Orioles slugger Chris Davis. DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you? Bogaerts lines it back where it came from, kicks out to short. Hardy's throw will be not in time. So when off the pitcher, changed direction to the shortstop, and by the time Hardy can get it to first, Bogaerts beats it out.
Well, we'll see if the Orioles challenge this one. That was kind of a bad break for Bogaerts as it bounced right off the glove to J.J. Hardy.
Why is the home plate umpire out there yelling at Flaherty, the second baseman? As Nelson went out from behind the dish. He's kind of barking at Flaherty, as is Laz Diaz.
Well, you know, if the first baseman right there appears, gives a better stretch.
Yeah.
There's probably no question he's going to be out. But he didn't get much of a stretch at all at first base.
Buck is going to challenge. And I'm not even going to guess.
I'm not getting close to this. No, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Because I think on that last replay, just throwing it out there, Xander may be out. Can't see it there.
Well, can't see it because the glove was too high. Here's another look.
He's not down on the, well, maybe he is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We're pretty good at this, you know?
I think he's out.
We're pretty good at these plays under review.
I wonder what our percentage is.
I don't know. Our percentage?
Yes.
I know mine is terrible.
It's not good.
Mine is not good at all. And these plays have really taken the arguments out of baseball, haven't they?
They have. Yep. Because Buck would have been out there forever arguing this otherwise.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say Xander's out. Just to add to my
just to go against you, I'll say he's safe.
Okay.
Just to go against you. That's the only reason. I'm going to say the foot got down because it was not a good stretch. That's what I'm going to say. And I'm going to be quiet. Be very quiet now until the results come out.
He's out. So they overturn it, and Buck Showalter wins his challenge. Oh, that was close. As
we've had two real close ones.
Yep. One out here in the seventh. Mookie Betts 0 for 2. Has fly to right, fouled to the right fielder Delman Young. This one fouled off to the right, out of play. So instead of having the lead runner on for the Red Sox, one down after the overturned play at first base. Challenge won by the O's. McFarland was the first pitcher in relief of Miguel Gonzalez, who left with a groin strain. Hitting at 2/3 for McFarland in his outing, giving up a hit and a strikeout. But no runs. Orioles on their third pitcher of the night. Jazz Rowe has one down, and Mookie Betts now with a count of 1-2. And a late swing there, and a fastball at 94 running away. First strikeout for Rowe. 2 down.
And that's been very consistent against Mookie Betts, keeping the ball away from him, especially when they're ahead in the count. And that ball by him, a very defensive swing by Betts on a pitch that was away. See Mookie off the plate quite a bit, and just no way he can reach that ball.
2 down for Blake Swihart. Miguel Gonzalez's pitching line is brought to you by Eastern Lexus Dealers. 4 1/3, 4 hits. No runs, 2 walks, and a K. So up to 89 pitches before leaving with a groin strain. 1-2 now to Swihart. Very defensive emergency swing there. H.B. Hood salutes the heart of the Red Sox Foundation, knowing there's always a way to say yes. 4,900 accredited charities in New England asked for help last year, and the club went 4,900 for 4,900. We love to make dreams come true for the families of New England. Very high. Swihart lined out to center in the 3rd, doubled to left field in the 5th. And a swing and a miss on a pitch down and in. Back-to-back Ks for Rose. 7th inning stretch. No score from Baltimore. By Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Back in the Inner Harbor of Baltimore, and tonight another very good outing for Eduardo Rodriguez. Didn't have his best stuff, Jerry, but got through it without giving up a run.
I still had 7 strikeouts on the night. That last one there to Weeders was the only one he got on a slider. Every other strikeout he got tonight was on his fastball. Had a very good fastball in this game. Climbs the ladder to Adam Jones to pick up that one. Shows some emotion after a big strikeout. And another nice outing by Rodriguez tonight. I mean, he's something to be excited about.
Matt Barnes into the game for Boston. First out of the pen here for the 7th inning. 13th overall appearance. 2-0 with a 1.93 earned run average. 12 strikeouts to 5 walks. Opponents hitting at 300 against Barnes. It is J.J. Hardy. Beg your pardon. Steve Pearce leading it off here for the Orioles. Pitch fouled off to the right, out of play.
Back-to-back 95-mile-an-hour fastballs from Barnes. Tommy Lane loosening.
One to Steve Pearce. That's going to miss for ball 3, and it's 3-1. Barnes stranding 2 inherited runners in the 8th inning Saturday against Oakland. His 5th straight scoreless appearance. There's a strike as he battles back. Full count. Just did pick up that outside corner.
A little bit of a gift, especially the way the game has been called tonight by Nelson behind the plate. Just barely getting a piece of that outside corner on the 3-1 count.
Pearce puts it in the air to right field and deep. Rusney Castillo back on the track at the wall. It's off the wall. Castillo plays the Karen, but into second base with a leadoff double goes Steve Pearce.
Now the ball left the bat. I didn't think it had enough to get off that right field wall, but remember, it's a little bit like Fenway out there, except on the other side. High fly ball hit by Pearce, who has good power. And the ball scrapes the scoreboard on the way down. Nothing Rusney Castillo could do about that. No way he could jump to make a catch. Just play it off the wall.
In scoring position at second base is Pearce to begin the inning. Now J.J. Hardy has struck out and singled. 1 for 2 on the night. And Hardy takes strike 1. And 9 of 13 appearances for Barnes have come on the road for the Red Sox. And a jam here already. Grounder up the middle by the dive of Pedroia. Pearce to be stopped at third is getting it quickly as Betts will fire back in. That play cuts it off. And they put the brakes on Pearce because where Betts was charging in was right in behind second base. So it is first and third, and especially with nobody out, not going to try to get that run in.
Yeah, Betts was playing shallow and also put a very good charge on this. The dive by Pedroia, he can't come up with it. There's a breaking ball right out of the middle of the plate. And you see where Mookie Betts is playing. Now watch the charge he puts on the ball. That's going to make that third base coach, with nobody out, put the brakes on. Always a possibility of a squeeze here. They've got the Red Sox on their heels a little bit with nobody out.
Ryan Flaherty, the batter, has grounded out, been hit by a pitch. In the dirt, gets away from Swihart. Here comes Pearce. He will score. Orioles take a 1-0 lead.
Well, for some reason they go to a changeup in that situation, and the changeup just goes down in the dirt, as you can see. Swihart cannot block it. And a gift run right there for the Orioles. Now we'll see if they have Flaherty bunting with the man at second base.
Wild pitch to the call. As Flaherty now ahead in the count 1-0 with Hardy moving to second base. And he is squaring and getting it down. Barnes with one play. It's at first, almost threw it away. Pedroia had to reach out to grab that, kept the foot on the bag for the out. Sacrifice complete, 1-4. As taking third base is J.J. Hardy on the sacrifice. First sack bunt of the year for Ryan Flaherty.
That last time he took one in the ribs trying to sacrifice. This ball also inside, but a very nice job getting the hands inside, as you can see there, and deadening that ball down the first baseline. Beautiful bunt by Flaherty. Red Sox have to pull the infield in.
Manny Machado coming up here for the O's. 1 for 3 tonight for Machado, who singled to center field in the first inning. J.J. Hardy at third. A run already in here for the Orioles. One down. And Machado fouling it back. A 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Infield in all the way around. First, second, third, and short. Maybe playing contact here on a ground ball.
Foul back again. 1-2. Popped up foul, back it out of play. Young waiting on deck. Orioles have grabbed the game's first run here in the 7th inning off Matt Barnes. Machado, it's a ground ball to short, and they're not playing contact as the shortstop Bogarts throws out. Machado at first base, no advance for Hardy. It's time for a game break, and Tom Caron, TC. All right, Tom, thanks very much. Hardy at third base as a pitch is going to miss here for ball 1 to Delman Young. Barnes has surrendered the lead here in the 7th inning to the Orioles, and now trying to keep it a 1-run deficit for the Red Sox. There's a strike, 1-1. Young has struck out twice and fouled out. On the ground, foul over by the Red Sox dugout. 2-2. The Yankees trying to stay out of the way. Adam Jones on deck. 2 down here in the Orioles' 7th inning. Full count. Young hits a fly ball to center field. That's going back. Deepest part of the ballpark out in that direction. Puts it away. But the Orioles do get the game's first run. Lead it 1-0. Boston Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Your local Subaru dealers. Digital Federal Credit Union. See what DCU can save you. Dustin Pedroia leading it off here in the 8th inning. Changes for the Orioles. Nolan Reimold moving from left field to right field, and David Lowe coming into the game in left field. Pedroia taking a strike, and it's 1-1. Orioles have the 1-0 lead. Only run of the game scoring on a wild pitch. Pedroia 0 for 3. Fly to left, fly to right, and grounded out to shortstop. Look out. Wow. Going down hard.
Yeah, that almost got Dustin Pedroia, too. That was very close to the head.
Giving him first base. Apparently he got hit by that pitch. And disputing it was Wieters, and now Buck Showalter will do the same. Roy saying he got him on the hand. He was showing Wieters his hand. Maybe it did.
Well, I'll tell you, my focus was on the head and not the hands, because that almost got him in the head too. I don't know about the hand, but we may have another look at this. When Pedroia landed, he landed on his hand, I believe, after collapsing. And very difficult to tell if it did get a piece of the hand or not, but that's what he was complaining about, looking at his left hand, which would be the bottom hand of the bat.
Well, Wieters was kind of saying it didn't hit him, and then Pedroia showed him his hand.
They are going to give him first base.
They are. After the check, they will stay with his call. Hit batter.
And when Dustin went down like that, you can see him pounding his left hand, and then he gets up and he looks at it.
So hit batter to begin things here in the 8th. Lead runner on for the Red Sox. Rockhold has grounded to short, doubled, and struck out.
Well, there have been a lot of close calls in this game tonight.
There have. There's been a tight contest all night. The difference, a wild pitch in this game. Orioles have taken a 1-0 lead. Lead on the fastball. It is a ball and a strike.
Butterfield throwing down a new set of signs to Brock Holt, with the count going 1-1.
Help NESN by taking a quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark next month. Visit NESN.com/survey during tonight's game for your chance to win. 1-1 the count here to Brock Holt. And a foul to the screen makes it 1-2. Zach Britton up in the pen now for the O's. They've used T.J. McFarland, Chaz Bro in relief. Miguel Gonzalez lasted just 4 1/3 innings. Leading with a right groin strain. 1-2 very high. And wide. 2-2. Rusney Castillo waiting on deck. Red Sox batting here in the 8th. Lead runner on in Pedroia at first base. High for ball 3.
Well, the crowd wanted it, but certainly it was too high. Just a flat breaking ball. It didn't do very much. Stayed upstairs, and Weed is pulling it down into the strike zone.
Holt pops it up foul, out of play, off to the left. Alltown, New England's premier convenience retailer, is committed to supporting the communities they serve. For every home run the Red Sox hit the rest of the season, Alltown will donate $500 to Boston Children's Hospital. Visit alltown.com for a location near you. Dustin Pedroia hit by a pitch to begin this inning. And there's ball 4. So Brock Holt down to first base.
Well, back in the 3rd inning, Hanley Ramirez getting hit off the knee on a foul ball. He finishes at bat, but then left the ball game. Rusney Castillo coming in to take his spot. Had an opportunity early in this ball game on a 3-0 count, but was late on it and flew out to right field. Now we'll see what they put on with men at first and second and nobody out.
And take strike 1. Ichizao up in the Boston pen.
Seaweed is throwing signs down to his middle infielders in case there's a double steal where he's going to throw the baseball, third or second. If he's going to third, he doesn't want those middle infielders moving.
Let's get a game break. Tom Caron. Okay, Tom, thanks very much. That was interesting right there. John Farrell was trying to get the attention of Rusney, who was not looking at Brian Butterfield for the signs in that last sequence at all.
And he went over to talk to David Ortiz.
Finally gets a bunt down here. Throw go to third, and he's out. And they get the lead runner of Pedroia.
I did not think Wieters was going to go to third base on that. I thought he was going to go to first, but he took the chance. You see Pedroia at second base getting that secondary lead. Gets a good jump, but Wieters has the play in front of him. Still goes in that direction and gets the out. That's a big out for the Orioles right there.
Gives you an idea of the throwing ability of Wieters coming off Tommy John surgery. Pretty good.
Good point, Don.
So two-time Gold Glove Award winner, able to get Pedroia at third base, and a pitching change here for the Orioles as Chaz Rowe comes out of this game. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Your local Subaru dealers. Digital Federal Credit Union. See what DCU can save you. Mazda KBB.com's lowest cost to own brand over 5 years, and by the Scion TC. Zach Britton into the game here for the Orioles. His 24th appearance. Save opportunities. He's 15 for 60 in that category. The 1.96 earned run average. 30 strikeouts to 3 walks, and opponents hitting at 227 against Britton. He comes in here with 1 out in the 8th. Had a 5-out save Thursday at Houston. And looking for 5 outs here is Buck Showalter, going to his closer with 1 out in the 8th. Runners on, the responsibility of Chaz Rowe. Here's David Ortiz with 1 out and 2 on. Strike called. David didn't think so. Thought it was high.
You see Ortiz too, just saying a couple of times, the ball's up. The ball's up.
5-13 in his career. The home run against Zach Britton at 385. Holds at second base. Castillo at first base with 1 out. Ortiz fouling it off at the plate.
Ortiz right now is trying to leave the yard. Now that swing might change with 2 strikes on him, but the last 2 pitches he's taken or swung at, he has kind of been bailing out a little bit, almost like, really trying to pull the ball. Watch the front shoulder come out a little bit and the hips really rotate out. I mean, he's trying to hook a ball right here over that short porch out there in right field. That may change with 2 strikes.
And operating at 95 miles an hour. Four home runs in the last 5 games in Baltimore for David Ortiz. It's a place he likes to hit. Fouls it off. We'll do it again. 2-2. Like Napoli waiting on deck. And it started with Pedroia being hit by a pitch. Brock Holt walked. Rusney Castillo tried the sacrifice bunt, but they got the lead runner Pedroia on a force out at third base. So it's Holt at second, Castillo at first, and a 2-2 coming to Big Papi. Strike 3 call, and that may have been up according to David Ortiz, but he'll take with him the first strikeout for Britton. Looked like a pretty good pitch.
Now you look at that whole at bat for David Ortiz, and he was zeroed in on one thing, and that was a fastball middle in. That ball's away. It's a good pitch. It's a strike, but he's not looking for that. He's looking for a ball middle. Look at his front foot. See where his front foot is? How he's down at first base line. He's looking to do one thing, and that's hit a 3-run home run. And going to beat that time on an outside fastball.
2 down here in the 8th, and Mike Napoli now up against Zach Britton. Napoli 1 for 7 at 143 in his career against Britton. And a pitch missing inside for ball 1. Napoli in this game tonight, a single his last time up to center. 1 for 3 night. There are the particulars against Britton. Foul tip, 1-1. Napoli grounds one down the third baseline. It is a foul ball. The indication by the umpire. The security guards thought that was the final out of the inning running onto the field here, but it is a foul ball.
Yeah, somebody got to tell them that Napoli's got another chance. Go ahead, guys, off the field. That's it.
Come on back. Once a goodbye to the bag. The call from Chris Cuccione, third base umpire.
Clearly in foul territory.
Holt at second, Castillo at first, 2 down. And now headed out is Wieters to talk to Britton here as they go back and forth. Napoli strikes out, chasing the fastball away. Back-to-back Ks for Britton. 1-0 Baltimore. Time now for tonight's T-Mobile game changer performance, and Steve Pearce doubling to begin things in the bottom of the 7th inning. He'd come around to score eventually on a wild pitch. And he starts that 7th inning with the double. Red Sox bringing on their 3rd pitcher of the game. As Junichi Tazawa checks in here for the bottom of the 8th inning. His 28th appearance, 0-1 with a 1.46 earned run average, 25 strikeouts to 5 walks. Opponent sitting at 193 against Tazawa. Worked on Friday night in Oakland. Entered with a runner on first and 1 out in the 8th. Struck out Stephen Vogt swinging, then got Ben Zobrist to ground out, stranding that runner. Last 15 games, Tazawa with a 0.69 earned run average. Has to deal with 3, 4, and 5 here for the Orioles. Jones, Wieters, and Davis scheduled to bat. Jones pops it up foul off to the right, out of play. Now be sure to download the Red Sox schedule into your favorite desktop, web, or mobile calendar program before it's too late. Visit NESN.com/schedule now. Well, the hook right now for the Red Sox, Matt Barnes, who worked an inning, giving up 2 hits and a run. Did not walk anybody, nor did he strike anybody out. Fouled back, and it's 0-2. Jones walked in the first, grounded back to the mound in the 3rd, and struck out swinging in the 5th inning. Swing and a miss, and that gets away briefly from Swihart. It's got to throw him out, and does. So Jones striking out for the first out here of the 8th.
Don, let's go back to David Ortiz in that last at bat and watch his right foot, how he's pulling out. He's got one thing on his mind, and that's hitting a 3-run home run. Now watch, see the right foot. Every single pitch he's bailing out, and he's trying to get those hips going to pull the ball. And he got beat on a fastball that was away from him. That was clearly a strike, but he's thinking one thing: ball middle in to make it a 3-run home run. I mean, he really came out of his normal swing to try to hit a 3-run home run.
Now Matt Wieters batting here with 1 out, bases empty for the O's. Tazawa trying to keep this a 1-run deficit. Looking ahead to the 9th, Sandoval, Bogarts, and Betts scheduled to bat. A closer for the Orioles already into this game and getting 2 of the 5 outs he would need to secure a save. Attendance tonight 28,460, 28,460. Game 1 of this 3-game series between the Red Sox and the Orioles. One and 2. Six for 14 for Matt Wieters since coming off the 60-day DL. A bounce in for ball 3. Eduardo Rodriguez started tonight for the Red Sox. 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs. He walked 3, struck out 7. Not be part of the decision tonight through 102 pitches. He still has only given up 1 earned run in 3 major league starts now. Payoff pitch to Matt Wieters. And a fly ball headed out to left field, and Brock Holt has room and makes the catch for the second out of the 8th inning. Take a look at the Toyota play of the game, and the wild pitch uncorked here from Matt Barnes gets away from Swihart, the game's only run. Coming in from third base, Steve Pearce, who had doubled to begin the inning, scores.
You know what I didn't like about that, Don, is the fact that that's his third best pitch, and a man at third base, and you throw that changeup like that down in the dirt. Swihart did everything he could to try to block that ball, but you know, he's got a good fastball and a good curveball, and in my opinion, went to his third best pitch and bounced it.
Chris Davis sending a high fly ball to left. Brock Holt over towards the line. Will make the catch, and it's a 1-2-3 8th inning for Tazawa. We head to the 9th. Red Sox need a run. Tonight's game summary is brought to you by Xfinity. There's a start tonight for Rodriguez. He ends up going 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 7 Ks, not part of the decision. There's a pitch in there for strike 1 to Pablo Sandoval. Sandoval is 0 for 3 in the ball game. The 0-1 is back to the pitcher and caught by Britton.
Well, the Red Sox have had a couple of those tonight. Remember Xander Bogaerts earlier in the ball game off the pitches of the shortstop to the first baseman. Now the line shot right there to make the play. Zach Britton. He attacked that, didn't he?
Yes. Able to make the grab for the first out of the 9th inning. Has to get 5 outs tonight. He's got 3 of them so far. 2 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. And here is Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts 1 for 4 in his career against Britton. Xander tonight is singled to right, walked, and grounded out to short. As he takes strike 1. For Britton's been tonight, 95 miles an hour. Ken Britton just getting a 5-out save on Thursday against the Astros, so this is not new. Red Sox have left 8 men on base in this game as they bat in the 9th with 1 out. In the dirt for ball 2.
Yeah, some little things done in the course of a game. You know, remember when Castillo had the 3-0 count, and I said, you know, I might be crazy, but I would give him the green light. But the unfortunate thing is he didn't get a pitch that he could pull or hit, hit to center field or pull a ball. That's what you're looking to do. You're not looking to be late on a 3-0 count and hit a fly ball to the other way. Then he couldn't get a sacrifice bunt down late in the game, which hurt the Red Sox.
There's a grounder to first base. Steve Pearce is going to have to get to the bag himself. He looked up, and Britton, the pitcher, was not getting over there as quickly as he needed to be, so he runs to the bag himself to get Bogaerts 2 down.
Yeah, very heads up by Pearce as he scoops that ball, looks at his pitcher and says, nope, I've got to get this myself.
So 2 down in the 9th inning. Leaders at the mound here talking to Britton. Britton has retired all 4 Red Sox that he's faced since coming into this game. Struck out Ortiz with runners at first and second. Struck out Napoli with 2 men on. And starts the 9th fresh. And Sandoval will line back to him. Bogaerts to ground out 3 unassisted. Now here is Mookie Betts. And there is strike 1. Oh, 2. $28,460 on hand here tonight. In the dirt, and it's a ball and 2 strikes.
That's almost a waste one right there to Mookie Betts. Let's see if he goes back outside with his next pitch. First 2 pitches were away. He bounces one inside. Now let's see what he does with 2 strikes.
Back to the fastball, and Betts fouls it off.
Back away. Outside, outside, waste one inside and go back outside. That's where they like to pitch Betts. Outside with fastballs and breaking balls.
Swing and a foul tip. Oh, and 2 strikes still. Pitch a little bit high.
And again, trying to go away, trying to backdoor that breaking ball on the outside corner. Slipped out of his hand a little bit and couldn't get it where he wanted.
2-2 pitch. Away again. No, not chasing there is Betts. 3-2. And Swihart on deck. Full count. 2 outs in the 9th. Down and in, and Betts walks here with 2 down. So good at bat here for Mookie as he gets down to first base. Tying run aboard with 2 outs in the inning. Britton had not issued a walk The last 9 appearances, 9 innings. And a walk here with 2 outs to Mookie Betts. Now Blake Swihart, who doubled back in the 5th, a 1-for-3 game. For the first, and back to the bag is Betts.
Yeah, he'll get some attention. There's no question about that. Betts with 10 steals.
Swihart takes strike 1.
I tell you, Betts gets about as big a lead at first base as you see anybody get in the game of baseball. He is way out there.
Swihart down 0-2. That's on 96 from Britton.
Britton keeping the ball down in the zone this time to Swihart. Sinking fastball at 96. That's pretty nasty.
He's tied a season high in pitches for Britton at 26. His 0-2 pitch. And a check on Mookie, and a little stumble trying to get back there initially.
I'm not against the gamble of going, that's for sure. There's that huge lead right there, and realize he has to dive back. It's not a great move to first base at all.
Swihart stays alive. Two down, 9th inning. Mookie Betts at first base. Blake Swihart down the count 0-2. On the ground left side. Hardy goes to second for the first out that ends the ball game. Mookie Betts is forced out at second base, and a 1-0 win tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. The game winner scores on a wild pitch. And the Red Sox and Orioles beginning this series tonight, and it's the Orioles who take game 1 of the series. We will step aside and come back with more from Camden Yards after this.